All right, so now that we've got our title built, let's take a look at something a little bit more complex by animating some position, scale, rotation, opacity, and maybe even a 3D layer inside a lower third animation. So let's go ahead and jump into After Effects and get started. All right, so here we have a lower third started. I've already added some text. This green background is from the what I brought in, the placeholder I brought in from Premiere. So now we're going to take and go ahead and animate some of this stuff, some of the text, and let's create a solid layer, or actually a shape, behind our lower third. So to do that, we're going to come up here to our rectangle shape again, or rectangle tool, select that, and I'm just going to drag a box around Julie Davis. I'm bringing it right off like this. That looks good. And I want to bring it behind our text. So I'm going to drag it from the top, bring it down behind our text like so. That looks pretty good right there. We're done with this lower third, this LT color. I don't really need that anymore. So I'm going to click the eyeball next to it and turn it off. I could actually click this little icon here. It's kind of like a little peeking guy over a fence. We can click that and make him like duck down and hide. I can actually go up here and click the same little guy that's hiding. Make sure he's hiding. There you go. He's activated, and there that icon or that layer totally went away. It's still there. It's just hidden. Kind of cleans up the workspace a little bit. Okay. So now that we've got this layer selected, let's actually change the color of this layer. I've got this shape layer selected. I'm going to come up to Fill, and we're going to make this more of a gray. Yeah, that looks better. Click OK. Okay. Let's go ahead now and create another shape layer. Let's make sure this is deselected. We're going to create another rectangle or shape layer, like so. And the color doesn't really, actually, you know what? The color does matter. For this one, we're going to use a gradient fill instead of a solid layer. To do that, you're going to click Fill, and we're going to change that to Gradient, like that, and click OK. Make sure we have our selection tool selected now. We're done with our shape layer. And actually, when we did that, it shows us two little circles because we have our shape layer selected. And if we have our shape layer selected, let's grab our rectangle. There are those two circles. And this is basically the start and end of our gradient. So if I drag those out, you can see the gradient gets a little bit longer as well. So we'll drag this out to something that we like. And I want to put this above the text, but below my logo. So I'm going to do that just to make my logo stand out a little bit more. Now, in the last video, we used track mats. For this video, because this is going to affect more than just one layer, a track mat isn't going to work in this case. So what we're going to do is change the mode. So if you don't have these before, make sure you go down to the bottom here and make sure that Expand or Collapse Transfer Controls pane is turned on. There we go. Now, let's go ahead and make sure that instead of normal for mode, let's change this to Silhouette Luma. Silhouette Luma. And there you go. It's nice, but it's backwards. Every time I do this, for some reason, I always do it backwards. I want my white to be, Control Z, I don't want to move it. I want my white to be on the right side and my black to be on the left side. There we are. That's what I want. Okay? So now it looks like it's kind of fading in the distance, right? Whoop. I don't want to move it. There we go. Now that we've got that, looks like I do need to adjust it. I've got this weird line down below, so I'll select that and just kind of stretch it out a little bit. There we go. That works for me. Yeah. Okay, nice. It's kind of got this gradient. You can double check that just by clicking that. See how it fades off. Might fade a little too much, so let's make some adjustments to that. Let's take the rectangle and we'll bring this guy back a little bit. There, that way we see it. That's better. Otherwise we're going to lose the name on that. Okay, now that we've got that, let's go back to the black background. Looks good. Let's go ahead and animate the position of our name and of the gray background. So let's start with the name. Position will come out to about, say, 8 frames. Click the stopwatch. Move back. And we're going to move the X. There we are. Like so. You can see it kind of fades into the distance that way too. It's kind of cool. Let's do the same thing with that shape layer. I want to offset this a little bit, so I'm not going to parent this time. Shape layer, and shortcut for position is P. So hit the letter P on your keyboard and position pops up. And I'm going to take the shape layer and move it off to the edge, like so. Okay. And I'm going to take this layer and I'm just going to actually offset it just a hair. Yeah. And it just kind of comes in just after that solid layer comes in, or that shape layer. Now, from here, let's go ahead and animate the scale and opacity of eWomen Network. So we'll come up to eWomen Network, and we're going to take a look at scale and opacity. So let's go ahead and come out here, say about there. We'll say scale and opacity. We'll come back to just before the name comes in, and we'll bring scale down to 0, and we'll bring opacity down to 0. Okay. And actually, I'm going to take opacity's 100. I'm going to move it in a little bit. Yeah. So it comes in, it's already opacity before, already opaque before it hits 100%. That looks good. So far, so good. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at our logo, our last bit, right? Before we really start to play with the animations. So let's take a look at our logo. We've got this coming in, boom, 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 and our logo kind of flowers, opens up like that. That looks pretty cool, but we can add a little bit of effect to this. So let's start here, that's fine. Boom. Let's say right there. We're going to make this rotate, but right now it's a two-dimensional layer. To make it 3D, all we have to do is click this 3D icon right here. It looks like a little cube. We're going to click that icon. There we go. Now we've got some different things pop up. You can see there's anchor points. It's got three axes here, 3 axes on almost everything. And we want to change the Y rotation. To do that, I'm going to click the stopwatch next to Y. And I'm going to bring this back like so. And I'm going to rotate this over 90 degrees. All right. And just like that, we've got a simple animation that comes in. Play it back. So this is a little late. I think we should bring this in a little bit sooner. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I think we should add some opacity to this as well. So let's take this logo, change the opacity. We're going to say 100 there, and we'll come back here and say 0 here. Just to give it a little bit more realism. That's a little bit better. All right. Save your work. Now, let's go ahead. At this point, we're going to add some curves using the graph editor and the easy ease. Remember, the shortcut for easy ease is what? F9, right? F9. But to make this a little bit easier to use, let's go ahead and use another shortcut key. On your keyboard, hit the letter U. what it does is it hides everything else except for what's being animated. Okay, so now you see all of the keyframes to everything that's being animated. So we can select those keyframes like so and hit F9 on our keyboard. There we go. Easy ease. So now everything looks nice and smooth. Control save. And then with all of our curves selected, let's go ahead and jump into the graph editor like before. And you can isolate some of these. If I select off of something, they all kind of vanish, right? But they're still there. I could select our shape layers position, which I know is over here. There we go. And there's the first name position. So let's take those and kind of tweak those a little bit. Okay. And then let's go to eWomen Network. Let's take a look at those. Let's bring that over. Where are her keyframes? Oh yes, you got to select them, not just the title. You have to select the attributes. And whoop. Let's go the other way with that. Let's see what that does. Okay. And then what else have we got? Nothing there. Oh, just the 3D logo. So let's look at the Y and the Y and the opacity. All right, so we've made some adjustments there. Let's take a look at it. I'm gonna hit the home key. Yeah, not bad. I'm gonna save that work. That's usable. That's a nice animation. Last but not least, let's add some motion blur, right? So we're gonna turn motion blur on just like we did before to the titles. And we'll just go in here, click the stop of the little circles on everything that needs to have motion blur. And you can see just by doing that what it did to the title or to the lower third. And there you go. Save the work. And so now if I jump over to Premiere real quick, there's my title from before. And here's her lower third.
Report that we got on our Facebook page and helping each other.
Nice. Very nice. So it's something that creates a nice graphic that's easy to use and easy to look at, right? And it's a very simple graphic, not too complex. I know that we did a few steps to make this happen, but I hope you're now able to create a nice video, a nice lower third graphic and title frame for your next video project that's coming up this next week. It doesn't have to be identical to what I just did. Just use these steps and use these techniques to create a graphic that's yours, that fits with the video that you're creating. All right? I look forward to see what you guys come up with, and I will see you in class.